All right, and we're back with another edition of the Scotty Knows Show. Um, First of all, we'd like to thank our sponsor, BetOnline.net. They are where the game starts. Our next guest joining us for a draft today is Big Daddy Dave. How you doing?
I'm doing great. How about yourself? Thanks for having me.
Oh yeah, I'm doing good. I'm doing good. So you currently work at DRG, correct?
That's right. That's where I'm at.
And you're in radio. You have first of all, you have an incredible voice. um,
well, thank you.
how did you get started in radio?
Oh goodness, I fell in love with radio when I was a kid. Listened to it all the time. Play my cassettes and CDs and vinyl back in the day, and I just decided, I'll go to the local radio station. They were at a farm and garden show. I grew up in upstate New York, and just asked them, "Hey, do you have internships?" And as a junior in high school, I started to intern, and the rest is history, as they say.
And you also you do the PA announcing for the Trappers as well. Um, what do you enjoy the most about that?
Oh, I love baseball. I've been, well, a sports fan forever, but baseball is my favorite. I was lucky enough as I was growing up to be near a New York Penn League team. So I used to go down, and originally they were the Watertown Pirates, and then they became the Indians. Just played baseball, so I just like being part of the game, being able to, I can't be out on the field, so being up in the box, that's a pretty cool thing.
How do you go from New York to South Dakota exactly?
By way of Nebraska, actually.
Really?
Yeah, I was born and raised in New York, lived there 40 years, and never really wanted to stay. Just life kind of happened, and then my wife and I said, you know what, cost of living's crazy. We're either going to go south because I love the South, or Midwest because she grew up outside of Chicago, and when we made a couple of trips out there, just fell in love with the Midwest, and just sent out my resume, and as we get in radio call it, an air check, and talked to some different stations. Ended up in Nebraska. I had never been west of Illinois previous to that. Spent 5 years in Norfolk, Nebraska.
Ooh.
It's about 5 hours from Pierre,
Yep.
and did some radio there, and then it was time for a fresh start, and here we are in beautiful Pierre, South Dakota.
How long did it take you um to learn that it was Pierre and not Pierre?
Thankfully, when I was doing the interview, yeah, because growing up in New York, when you learn the capitals, they tell you it's Pierre because that's how it's spelled. So a lot of people, out in the Northeast, that's what they say. So I keep correcting those folks back home when I talk to them. But yeah, thankfully they gave me that heads up before I came up here for good.
What's your favorite music to listen to?
Oh goodness, my favorite would have to be the blues.
Ooh.
Absolutely love the blues. I used to go down to, I had relatives just outside of Memphis, and we'd go down for a week during the summer, and we'd go to the pool hall, and they'd have the blues on. So I mean, Stevie Ray Vaughan, I mean, Muddy Waters, John Lee Hooker. I mean, I just fell in love with the blues, and that is my absolute favorite. With country music, a close second.
Okay. You're a Toronto Maple Leafs fan.
I am.
Um, how it's been a rough was it like 50 years since they last won a title?
Yeah, what, 67, 68, somewhere in
Yeah.
there. Yeah, it's tough. During the regular season, they can tear it up. And we've got a young team right now, which is great, but it's getting over the hump of that first round. That's what it's always been since, I can remember. Every now and then they sneak into the second round, but yeah, they just there's some playoff jinx that's just kind of hurting them, and maybe this team can break that. I'm keeping my fingers crossed.
Did they not even get into the second round when they had Cujo?
I think they did once.
Okay.
Because he got them pretty far. I remember, I can't think of the year, but yeah, when Cujo was there, those were probably the best years that they had playoff wise. And it's been a long time though since we've had a good run in the playoffs.
You're also a big USFL fan.
I
Yeah. Well, who's your team again? Is it Birmingham?
The Birmingham Stallions. Yeah, I just remember the original, just barely remember the original USFL, but I just, growing up, I was a Lou Holtz fan, and his son Skip is the coach. And growing up where I did, I rode horses for a long time, so it just was kind of a natural thing, and they've had a pretty good run so far.
I personally like the Michigan Panthers, and that's mainly just because Jeff Fisher. They're 1-8. It's rough.
Yeah, he's a great coach, but I've been watching throughout, since the first week of the season, and they have made strides. They have gotten better as a team. There's just some things that are missing for them to get them over the hump. And otherwise, I think the 1-8 record for them compared to like Pittsburgh is way different. They're a lot better team than Pittsburgh is, and a lot better really than a 1-8. They've caught some bad breaks.
Yeah. Have you seen the USFL documentary?
I have not. That's something that's on my list that I've got to go and check out.
Or read the book, which I actually own. It's way over on the desk, way over there. But
You're gonna have to loan that to me. I haven't read that.
yeah, it's very good. It's very fun. The last person I lent it to kept it for like 2 years.
Oh no.
Thanks, Jackson.
Oh, I think I know that guy.
Yeah. I think your desks might be very close together.
I think so. I'm gonna have to give him some guff on that.
Yeah, he gave it back to me like during the episode of his podcast that I was on. Like in
and
the
that's
episode.
Probably the only reason he actually remembered to bring it with.
But we're gonna do a draft of worst or kind of more or less least favorite fan bases.
Absolutely.
Because it can be very subjective and honestly very regional depending on where you're from. So
that is true.
You're the guest. The categories are MLB, college, NFL, NHL, and NBA. You can go first.
Does it matter what sport, or
it does not?
All right. Well, I'm going to start with baseball, and I am going to draft the New York Yankees fans as my least favorite fan base. And it's funny because I have relatives that are just huge, diehard Yankee fans, and we go back and forth all the time.
Okay.
Yeah, it's mainly, I know that they've won a billion World Series. I get it. They've had some, great teams in the past, and I respect the history. I can enjoy some of the past players, but since like the '90s and on, I just can't dig it. And they're the most obnoxious fans there are. They are very, we're Yankees fans. We should win it all the time, and that just gets old as a Blue Jays fan.
They do have I don't think they've won one since 2009. I think was the last time they won a World Series.
That sounds about right. And they're crybabying right now. It's been too long.
Yeah. I kind of, admittedly, I don't want them to waste a player like Aaron Judge. That's just my thinking. I think he's a very entertaining player to watch. So
yeah, there's no doubt some good players on there. My other big problem with the Yankees is they're always, buying their players as opposed to bringing them up through the farm system, because they use those guys in the farm system to trade away for other guys.
Yeah,
and that just bugs me.
They do have my guy Cooper Bowman on the team. He's a Rapid City Stevens grad. He's in their, I think, AAA or AA team, but he played on their spring training team this year. So,
Oh, good. Well, we wish him the best of luck, of course.
yes. So I am going to go to the college ranks for mine, and being a fan of a certain team in blue, I feel obligated to choose our neighbors to the a couple miles down the road. I'm picking North Carolina basketball.
Okay. I see. And I have a tough time there because I am a Syracuse fan. So when it comes to basketball and football and they moved to the ACC, yeah, Duke and in North Carolina, those are always tough, hard fought games. And but boy, the fans come out on both sides. That's when it's fun, when the fan base goes back and forth.
Yeah. Yeah. It I find, like, it seems like there's new ones coming out of the woodwork every year, honestly. And especially this year with the beating Coach K in his final game. Ugh.
I can feel for you there. I know at some point, same thing with Syracuse. Boeheim, he's been there. It seems like since the university was built, and they're going to kind of be doing that same thing. Especially, I believe Georgetown when it comes to Syracuse, they're going to want to try and beat him in his final year, whenever that may be.
So the way these drafts work is it's a snake draft. So I'll pick, and then you pick after, and you have 2 picks after this.
All right.
So my next pick, I'm going to go to the NFL, and I'm going to pick the Dallas Cowboys.
That's exactly who I was going to go with if I picked the NFL.
Yeah.
There's just something about the Cowboys because they haven't won it since the 90s. And I saw a great meme today, Scotty. It said since 1997, Cowboys have won no rings, and J-Lo has gotten 5.
Yeah.
I thought that was perfect.
I saw something where it's like the 2 worst playoff winning percentages since I don't know exactly the year, but the worst was the Lions with 0%, and right below them with like 0.15% was the Cowboys.
Absolutely. And that's the thing with Cowboys fans is they think that their team is relevant. They're going to win a Super Bowl every year. But as long as Jerry Jones is in charge, there's not going to be anything happening in that realm.
Yeah. America's team. Sure.
Yeah. Thank you, NFL Films.
So what's your second and third picks?
So I'm going to go with the NBA, and I'd have to go with the LA Lakers. Their fans are just so pretentious and so arrogant and out of the loop. They haven't been relevant really to me since the late 80s when Magic and Kareem were there. That's when they were good. Since then, yeah, they got a couple here and there with Kobe. He bugged the heck out of me too. And Shaq, I like Shaq, but he bounced around anyway. So yeah, that would be my NBA pick.
The funny thing about Laker fans is a lot of them are also Cowboys and Yankees fans.
Yes, they kind of run in the same circles, don't they?
Yeah.
Oh goodness! And for the NHL, I had a tough time. So because being a Maple Leafs fan, I'm not a big fan of the Canadiens fan base or the Rangers. Those are two fan bases. I would have to say that would be a pretty good tie for me. They're kind of obnoxious, and the Canadiens, we've won 152 cups, so we are the best there ever was. And well, congratulations. I'm glad they've won that many, but yeah, it's that rivalry thing that just it gets under your skin.
So your pick is the Canadiens?
I'm going to have to go with the Canadiens, and right behind them, the New York Rangers. pretty close.
Yeah, we've won. I think I saw a stat the other day. Obviously, I'm a Ranger fan, and it said for the 81st out of 82 seasons, the New York Rangers are eliminated from the playoffs.
Oh goodness. Well, the
Yeah,
worst thing that hurt for me as a fan watching Wayne Gretzky in New York. I love Gretzky, but his time in New York was not his best. I got to see his last game in Ottawa when he played the Senators, his last game in Canada, in fact.
really.
And he just had a horrible game. He was like -3 or -4 for the game. It was bad. And I got the chance to go down underneath and watch him. He was the first one out. He did his press conference, and I had a card. I was going to see if he could sign it for me, but he had such a bad game, and he had like 4 big dudes around him after he left the press conference. I got to say hello, Mr. Gretzky, and then nod at him, and I just left it at that because I'm just like, that poor guy. He just had probably one of the worst games of his career. I am not going to bug him.
He's the lone hockey jersey that I own. Is his Ranger one.
Nice.
Um,
Nice. Yeah, I wished his years there in New York would have gone better for him. He did, he came off of St. Louis where he was playing great for the Blues, and it's just I don't know. I don't know what happened when he got to New York. That was sad to see.
yeah. My number 3 pick, I'm gonna go to baseball, and I am actually going to pick a fan base that a lot of people consider them to be the best fans in baseball. I'm talking the St. Louis Cardinals.
Oh, I don't know about the best fan base.
Well,
They're pretty loyal.
that they will tell you that they are the best fans in baseball.
Of course they will. Yeah, I know. We've got a Cardinal fan in the office there, and
Yep.
he kind of brags on them a lot, unless, of course, they didn't play well, and then you don't hear much about what happened.
Yeah, but it's just like the whole the Cowboys being America's team, and then you have the Cardinals stating that they had the best fans in baseball. Like that's their claim, and it's
Yeah.
like you live in St. Louis. That baseball's literally the only thing you have.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot going on, and just because you're near the middle of the country doesn't mean that you are the best fan base there is.
Yeah. I have other. Obviously, we have some honorable mentions for all of these, but so I am going to go to the NBA, and this is going to be a kind of an out of the box pick. I feel, but judging from all the news reports and everything that I've heard from NBA players I've actually talked to, when they talk about like places that they hate playing,
Mm-hmm.
the number 1 place is Utah. So I'm going with the Utah
Really?
Jazz.
Oh,
Yes.
wow.
Shaq has said that they are just the meanest fans. And there's obviously the kind of racial thing that they have. They're known for being a little obnoxious when it comes to that. That I think Russell Westbrook was the most recent example that I can think of a guy that played in Utah and didn't like some of the things that he was hearing from their fans. And on top of that, their most famous fan is Mitt Romney. I mean, come on.
And didn't Paul Millsap say something too about it wasn't the best playing conditions after he got out of there as well?
Yeah.
And when I was down in Norfolk, the sports director there at the radio station, he was a Jazz fan. And yeah, if he's any indication, yeah, they are super obnoxious and not a lot of fun to be around. And, I hadn't heard that. I just knew I'd heard a little bit about Paul Millsap, and he really didn't like, how things were when he played there, with the fans. And and even some of the front office. But yeah, that's an interesting pick.
Yeah. Shaq said it was the worst place he ever played.
My goodness. And Shaq's pretty easygoing.
Yeah.
So it had to be bad if he spoke up and said something about it.
They also may have poisoned Michael Jordan in the NBA Finals at one time.
And maybe that's part of the problem is they couldn't beat the Bulls. The Bulls beat them every single time they met up,
So you have 2 more picks to round this out. I believe you have college and the NFL, I believe.
All right. So we'll start with college.
Okay.
And this is a team I just can't stand anyway. And a lot of people probably agree. Alabama.
Yep.
Boy, oh boy. I mean, everybody's tired of Alabama, I'm pretty sure, except for the people that live in Alabama.
Yeah.
That's just a fan base it's hard to find any common ground with. And going to the NFL, I agree with you on the Cowboys, but I'd also have to put the Patriots in there too.
Oh man,
that's one of the worst fan bases in all of sports. Talk about there are so many stories, and I know a lot of people that are Patriots fans, have gone to the games, and you just nonstop hear about the Patriots, and I get a kick out of the fact that now that Tom Brady is in Tampa Bay, he's playing the best football he has ever played in his career because he's able to have fun and enjoy himself, unlike his time in New England.
Yeah. The Patriots are a team that I've always kind of had a I don't know if begrudging is the right word, but a little bit of a respect for, and that's mainly due to them having Adam Vinatieri on the team for so long.
Vinatieri was fantastic. Yeah. I mean, one of my favorite stories, because I'm an Eagles fan, when they were playing the Super Bowl, I got to go down to Nashville. A country radio seminar was going on, and I was in a bar full of nothing but Patriot fans while we were watching the Super Bowl. Oh boy, did I have a fun last laugh on that one. That was the most somber bar in Nashville I have ever seen after the Eagles won the Super Bowl. It was great.
The Malcolm Butler game is still maybe one of my favorite memories of all time. I yelled and screamed when that happened. I was that happy. Okay. I'm gonna go to the NHL, and this is difficult because there's a guy that we talked about previously that is a fan of this team, and he's going to have an issue with me saying this. I'm going with the LA Kings.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah. And obviously that is due partially, in fact, to them beating the Rangers in the Stanley Cup playoffs in, I think, 2014.
Okay. I can understand that.
Yeah, and also because I feel like a lot of them are incredibly fair weather, because like when when the Kings aren't good, LA doesn't care.
Yeah, and LA is a tough town to be a sports team. Unless you are the Lakers or the Dodgers, you have got to be playing out of your mind, like you said, to draw any kind of support and fan base. It's, as a sports fan, it's frustrating to see that when they've got so many teams there and the fan base is so fair weather. I mean, thankfully for the Rams, they're winning right now. I mean, you look at their attendance compared to the Chargers, and the Chargers have got a good team as well, but they're just not drawing the fans. They're not as, I guess, glitzy and as cool in LA.
Even though I would argue that Justin Herbert is a more exciting quarterback than Matt Stafford, but
Oh yeah, a lot more dynamic. He's got, a lot more pop, and I mean, the Chargers are going to be they are a good team now, but as they continue to, gel and spend time together, they're going to give the Rams a run for their money. They just got to put the butts in the seats. So we'll see what happens there.
So we're gonna go with some honorable mentions. Uh, let's start with Major League Baseball. I have the Red Sox.
As a Jays fan, yes, I can totally agree with that. They whined for the longest time until they finally broke the curse, and now they've gotten a bit obnoxious. Not as bad as Yankees fans, but yeah, they're they're in that scope.
And then for college, I have Oklahoma, uh, Texas A&M. I'm a Longhorn fan, in case you couldn't tell.
Gotcha, gotcha.
Basically anybody in the SEC. And then finally, North Dakota State football.
Oh yes, I work with one of those fans as well, and it doesn't matter what SDSU or South Dakota does. All you hear about is North Dakota State in their 9 championships. Well, when you're as loaded as they are, and there's nobody else that good in the division, why didn't they move up like James Madison did?
And
So
a lot of
I totally feel you.
And a lot of them kind of came out of the woodwork. They're mainly like Boise State fans or something like that, but they decided to be North Dakota State fans because it's the closest team to them or
Right.
something like that.
Jumping on the bandwagon. Gotta love that.
NFL, you're gonna hate one of these picks. I have the Packers. That should be obvious. And also the Eagles, and that's mainly due to the Santa Claus and throwing snowballs at Santa Claus.
I totally get it. Philadelphia is a tough fan base. I mean, if you're playing crappy, they're going to let you know, and they're even going to pelt Santa Claus with snowballs. I mean, heck, the Link had its own jail downstairs. Yep. So, yeah, Philly's a tough fan base. I have to admit that.
NBA, I don't have any honorable mentions. I kind of tolerate Celtics and 76ers fans, but I don't consider them bad.
Okay, because I'm a Sixers fan. I had to change that allegiance. I was a little bit when I was younger, but Carlisle, he grew up near where I lived. I knew his parents, and so I was a Mavs fan for a while because he was down there coaching. I think he's a fantastic coach. But this whole deal during the spring when they were not playing the national anthem, I was like, no, I can't support them. So I'm going to go and throw my support behind the Sixers. So, they made a pretty good run. They got to put a few more things together before they can contend for a championship.
For hockey, I am going with my other honorable mentions are the Carolina Hurricanes. Just go back to Hartford.
Yes.
The Tampa Bay Lightning. Talk about fair weather fans.
Oh, most definitely. And for me, hockey should, it's a cold weather sport. Why are I have a hard time supporting any of the teams down in the Sun Belt as hockey teams, but they're doing their thing, so we'll see what happens.
I also have the New Jersey Devils and the Minnesota Wild.
Yeah, the Devils. I mean, they're close to New York. They're the same type of fans. I mean, they are diehard and just over the top when it comes to their Devils. The Wild, I don't know the Wild fan base quite as much as I do Jersey.
Well, they love hockey. They're close enough to Canada to the point where they almost feel like Canada. And they call themselves the state of hockey, and they feel like they should be given like a Stanley Cup playoff championship, and they always underperform, and the fans are like, what, I thought we were supposed to be good. What is this? It's like,
Yeah, if they
it's
don't win it all.
It's Minnesota. You should never expect a championship.
Yeah, the North Stars got a taste once of the Cup Finals, once or
Yeah,
twice. I
and
mean,
they had to move to Dallas in order to do that.
right. I mean, how crazy is that? That's when they finally got their cup. When they're south, and down in Texas, you gotta love it.
Yeah. Um, I also have, and this is just my own personal thing. I have some non-sports fan bases that can be a little bit annoying.
Well,
Um,
this will be interesting.
yeah, Star Wars, Disney, Marvel. I put them all under the same umbrella. Um, uh, Basically, if you don't watch what they watch, they yell at you and are like, Why don't you watch what I like?" And it's like, "Because you hate what you like." It seems like.
And here's the thing. I am a huge, well, I'm not going to say just Star Wars and Marvel fan because I love science fiction and that whole deal of, Star Wars versus Star Trek. If you're a sci-fi fan, you should love them both. You should love everything sci-fi for the most part, unless it's corny and campy. I get that, but yeah, I am one of those fans. But I am not going to give you a hard time if you don't watch because, well, you probably watch some things and enjoy that I don't.
Yeah. The other one, and I am 100% one of these. I'm going to a show on Saturday in Rapid. Pro wrestling fans are weird.
I have to agree. I used to watch wrestling back in the day. I haven't watched since the late 80s, Hulk Hogan and the Junkyard Dog and the British Bulldog. Those are my guys right there. Once it kind of made the transition away from them, it just kind of lost me. And yeah, there are some interesting wrestling fans out there that just really go crazy, but you got some nice ones too.
Oh yeah. Um, going to WrestleMania like I did in 2016, I met a ton of them, but it's like the people that um they're like loyal to just one company, like instead of like just watch all the wrestling that you can, like what you like, and just don't be mean about it.
Yeah,
Uh,
absolutely.
and
Yeah.
also like the way they've been treating Jeff Hardy during his DUI thing that he's had recently this week. The online reaction to that is appalling. It's like this man needs our support. We shouldn't be belittling him because he got his third DUI. So
Yeah, I mean, obviously he needs some help, and that's what the community should be doing, rallying around him, giving him that love and support that he obviously needs, and do that. But the sad thing with being fans and social media being available at our fingertips, we can just jump all over people and have no consequences and don't know how they feel about it. And that's sad because yeah, as a fan, you should, even if he's not your favorite, he's part of the family. You
mhm.
should rally around him. And that's just sad.
All right. So do you have any honorable mentions yourself?
I don't, I mean, probably the only one would be for me for college. And I know this one's going to hurt you as a Syracuse fan, Duke, because they're rough on everybody. They just go right at you and they are relentless. But that's what you do as a fan base. That's what you're supposed to do and get under our skins and get us all worked up. And they do a really good job at that.
I should also note Texas Tech as well, and that's mainly because of Michael Crabtree.
There you
Um,
go. Not a big fan, huh?
oh, that that was the first time I can honestly remember crying at a sporting event. Oh, how can I forget Ohio State fans?
Oh, yes. Yeah. That's another,
Yeah,
they're right up there with Alabama.
yeah.
They're those type of fans.
Nebraska fans can be a little annoying, but they also they're kind of like the Yankees in a lot of way, where they expect greatness every
Right.
year, and it's like Nebraska hasn't been good since Eric Crouch was a Heisman candidate.
Yeah, it's been since the mid '90s, folks. Come on, you need to deal with it already.
Yeah. But thank you for coming on the show.
Well, thank you for having me. It was fun, and anytime you want to just throw me on for whatever, hey, I'm game.
All right.